And hopefully,
Okey-dokey.
the push notifications should be
Going out now.
going out. Sounds like we are.
No, I didn't get a put. Oh, yes, I did. There it is.
Yeah, I've just got mine.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
The picture of me. Ugh. Blech.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
there you
Blech.
go. La 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 la.
That's better.
Evening all, as that policeman used to say on that programme. I can't remember.
Dixon of Dock Green.
Thank you, Nev.
Wow.
You've got to be a certain age.
Yeah. And Carlos, you're not that age.
No, but I've heard it obviously mentioned a number of times.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah. You know. Do you know one series? Oh, actually, no. Say two series. I wish they'd bring back on TV. One is The Bill, and the second one is London's Burning.
Yeah, London's Burning. I'm with you on that one. Although, yeah.
Yeah, The Bill and, well, The Sweeney as well for me.
I should say old school Bill, I would say to bring back.
Yeah.
They sort of, I mean, I remember when it first started, it was proper gritty and, yeah, it was late night. And then they sort of turned it into a soap and then it just became, it sort of lost something for me when they were trying to do it 3 or 4 nights a week or something stupid. I mean, it was just sort of, yeah.
John Falks in the chat room. Hello, John. How was the Jersey Air Display? Did you get down to that at all? This week just gone, because I noticed the weather was a bit marginal, to say the least.
Was it bad? Was it bad, Nev?
Well, it's one of those sort of rather squally days. No, he didn't go there, unfortunately. But so no, it was one of those days where the weather. I mean, the Channel Islands is like that. It can change quite quickly, but also has completely different weather to the rest of the UK sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's just like Ireland, isn't it? 4 seasons in one day.
yeah.
I'll never forget when we went to the drone show, and it was
Good Lord, yeah.
It's like we went to bed, and it was a beautiful evening, sunshine, sitting outside, having pints, doing all this kind of thing. I had my dinner outside, and it wasn't particularly cold. And then we woke up in the morning, there was snow everywhere.
Lots of snow.
There's some really good videos of us walking in the snow, actually. I must, perhaps we'll do an end of year review, although it was a couple of years ago.
That was very good, though.
Classic stuff.
Yeah. Nice hotel, though. That was a really nice hotel we stayed at.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Food was nice.
Yeah.
Guinness was nice as well. I'm back there in October.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, taking Mark out for his low-key stag weekend.
Okay. And you're going back to the hotel?
No, we're going to one that Alan recommended. So,
right, but still,
it's still central Dublin. But there's me, Mark, obviously, who was my best man when I got married. So he's getting married now. So me and Mark, his brother, and his stepson, and Mark's son. So yeah, a small handful of us flying out with
nice
Ryanair.
John Falk is asking, how do you define low key?
Well, the thing of it is, John,
as in keep it quiet and not tell the wife.
No. It's normally they call it a stag weekend. Normally, when you call it a stag weekend, it's like you go out, you get absolutely bladdered, you were sick everywhere, and then you go home. But because we're both at that age now, well, Mark's the same age as me, as are you, Matt. We get to that age now where when I go out and have a few beers, the last thing I want to do is get bladdered, because you just end up feeling rough. It's just awful. So we're just gonna have a nice weekend in Dublin. Have some Guinnesses, have a laugh. We're going to do the Guinness tour. Do the Guinness tour because it's awesome. I've done that a few times. We're going to do the Guinness tour. We're going to do the Jameson's tour because me and Gemma done that, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
let's do that. And we're just going to have a sort of nice.
I mean, if you want to be healthy, I'd recommend a
a little tiny sort of trip north and go and do Giant's Causeway.
Oh God, no, that's too much buggering about. I'm literally going to be using the amazing taxi app that Alan put me onto when I was there when we were there for Bray. It's a bit like it's a kind of an Uber style app.
Right.
It sort of focuses on local taxis and stuff. So you can just like go, I want to go there.
Nice.
Boom.
Nice.
It's a few euros.
Richard E. Flagg. Richard E. Flagg, by the way, is saying that at my age, it's a 3-day hangover. Rarely drink these days. Yeah. Matt's mic is very weird.
Mr. Flagg is obviously excited because Mr. Flagg has just brought himself a lovely new drone.
Oh
yes, yes.
Is my sound weird?
No, should it be?
It is a bit weird. Yes.
I mean, it sounds like you're in a room, but
it's a bit echoey.
Like
is that what you mean, or is it?
No, it's not come from that.
Oh
no, you've changed input mics. You're obviously using the Mac microphone.
How about now?
Oh, that's better.
That's it.
Sorry about that. I don't know why. That must have just changed for no apparent reason.
Yeah, Zoom does that. It's like when it does that to Nev's camera, and Nev suddenly goes.
You'll have to let me know. Well, because I am using a Mac, so could be a similar.
Finally.
Yeah. I got a little. It's what was it? 2015 MacBook Pro.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, I can't get the new updates on it now. It's been but yeah. But it's the first time I've used it for something like this. I use it to do like sort of station stuff, but
I've noticed that Apple have got a problem with their numbering system. We've gone from iOS 18.7 several days ago to iOS 26. I don't even know how that's possible.
We've jumped 7 versions somewhere along the line, have we? Okay. Love that for us.
Oh, dear. Yes. But there you go. I'm sure, I'll ignore that.
Apple does not have a problem, it's poo. That is not the case. Gemma! Oh,
right. Sorry, she's just asking. Just check on the boys. Gemma's.
Where are they?
They're both out at the moment. Yeah, they're both out.
Okay.
The usual evening thing. Nigel does one for about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas Dave keeps it local.
I don't think Carlos has got a Chinese mobile anymore. You used to have, didn't you? But you've actually got a Google or something.
It's
now,
it's a Google Pixel, yeah. Google Pixel phone. Yeah,
he used to have a Chinese phone.
So nice. Honestly, the Google Pixel is a lovely phone.
Yeah. Not as good as the iPhone, no way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're outnumbered on that one, Nev. Not Nev, Carlos. To be fair.
Yeah.
And when Andy's here, you're outnumbered even more.
Yeah. I'm not even going to go down that route. We know we're going to go.
And then when John's here, he also outnumbers. I mean, it's just
Yeah. No.
All I'm saying is the 2 most qualified tech people on this call
never going to be a convert here.
Apple products. What does that tell you about their devices?
That they all look the same?
No, I think you're missing the point here, Carlos. But anyway, thanks for playing.
Right, I am going to start loading some bits in here because I've got to click a button soon, haven't I? 59?
In 30 seconds' time, yeah.
30 seconds' time, is it?
You're not loading anything in yet?
No, I mean, as in the thingy on the thing.
The thingy on the thing. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all being well, hopefully, Matt, I've managed to work out how to do the bloomin' transition-y thing, where it goes from the clock to the intro without me having to do it manually. Hopefully, this will work.
You can run it now.
Oh,
Carlos.
Okay. We'll do it now. How's that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Fingers crossed.
It's a good start. The clock's running.
Fingers crossed it's a work. Hopefully,
got your faders up and stuff.
Yeah,
yes.
I've got the faders up, and hopefully, there's music, noise even.
Good. We like noise. Noise is good.
10,
Right. Now hopefully,
8, 7.
that'll start. Here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to the Plain Talking UK podcast. I am Carlos, and in this episode, 569 of the show, we ask, would you sit on a commercial airliner for 29 hours? The worst airport in the UK is named, and no, it's not London Luton. And our Canadian listeners can now head off to Spain, direct to soak up the sun. In the military this week, we head off to Poland, and the B52s arrive at RAF Fairford, minus the Love Shack. And we also have another interview from Bray Air Show, where we spoke with Adi Frost and Ian Brett, who are the engineering and flight crew members for the BAC Strikemaster. And this is part of the display that took place that afternoon. We're also delighted to bring you the first part of a brand new series on the life and times of Alan Munro. He's just published a book called Fast Jets on the Front Line, and Captain Nick and Nev went to interview Alan at his home earlier this week. And joining me, not in the home or not in the P2K Master Suite studios this week, because he's not there, and hence the reason I'm pushing all the buttons, hopefully in the right order at the right time and all that kind of stuff. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. You are there. You're there. He's there. There we go. How are you anyway? Are you having fun?
Yes. I'm not too bad, thank you. Yes, not
looking
too bad.
After the palatial mansion where you are.
Yeah, indeed, yes. So I am literally in an old barn conversion, and it's a really rather beautiful place to be. But it's a shame about the weather, because it's absolutely rubbish.
It is. It's not very nice here in the UK at the moment. No. We've had more rain in the last 2 days, I think, than you've had hot dinners. We put it, like that. It's been very
I've
bad.
had a lot of hot dinners, so I don't know about
He's had a lot of hot dinners. And also joining us this week, he's back with us, as always, our resident king of everything Seat 1A and BA is, of course, Mr. Neville Bounds. Hello, Nev.
Hello. Yes, I am back after a 2-week absence. Bit of holiday in Gran Canaria, which was very nice. Really enjoyed that. And more importantly, well, apart from the 1A in both directions, the folks at Gatwick are far better at boarding an aircraft than Heathrow, I have to say.
Ooh.
They know how to do it, whereas some of our chums at Heathrow need to go on a course, I think. But no, it went very smoothly, actually, at both ends of the sectors, coming back home as well. That was really good. So, and the weather was just nice in Gran Canaria, sort of 26, 27 degrees, not too hot, nice breeze. But by the time we got back, autumn had really kicked in. We'd suddenly, I think it must have been on the 1st of September here, we must have gone from quite a nice summer to straight into autumn with all the stuff that goes with it. But no, it's a very nice break, and really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
So what was the aircraft of choice then for both legs?
A couple of elderly A321s. One was ex-British... Mediterranean one, actually, I think it was, B-Med. And the first one going out was one of those ones that doesn't have the bulkhead at the front of the aircraft, so you're right at the front and you are staring directly at the cabin crew who are facing you, which was interesting. The only slight snag with that is when the doors open, it's blinking cold when they're boarding the aircraft. But on the way back, it was a more normal one with the bulkhead you get across there. But no, it's great. Very good. No delays, and smooth flying, and very nice crew, actually, on both legs. Really good.
What about the service now on board, food and drink and all that kind of jazz?
Yes, had a bit of attitude on the way out, but I'm not going to go into any detail about that. I think they could have done a bit better. I think they were a bit bored with their jobs, I think, on the way out. But on the way back, completely different. Very nice crew, and really, really good, actually. So, nice food as well, which was nice. So, enjoyed it. And pleased to be back. Although going on holiday is always nice, and it's always nice to come home as well, I think, anyway. But, really enjoyed it.
No, I'm glad you had a good time, Nev. And you've obviously had a bit of a break. It's nice to get a break in the sun, kind of winterish sun. End of the summer here.
Yeah, the Canary Islands are good for sort of autumn and winter sunshine. So when it's all a bit bleh in Europe, it's quite nice to go down there and have some sort of, even, around Christmas time, it's still 22, 23 degrees very often. So, really quite nice.
Right, let's see who's joining us in the chat room tonight. Going to start at the top of the list. Who was in there first? Richard Adams. Hello, Richard Adams. Good to see you in there. Mazouz is also in there. Hello, Mazouz. Alan White, our resident Irish listener there. Alan, good to see you in there. Richard E. Flagg. He's having fun, as I said, with his new drone. Lee Davies, hello to you. John Falk. He says, evening all. He says, glad you're on the men, Nev. He says, it's John Falk.
Oh, thank you.
Lee Davies, Hobby Time, John Main, and he says, we're no longer out of bounds. Says John.
See what he did there.
We have got, who else are we scrolling up here, make sure I don't miss anyone. And Masha, hello Masha, good to see you in there. Jason Trussell, hello to you as well, Jason, good to see you in there. I like the Lee Davies with the glass of wine there. I like that. I could do with a nice glass of red right now, to be fair.
Gin and tonic for me at the moment, I have to say.
John Jester, our resident Queen of the Skies, Captain John Jester's in there. Hello to you. Mark Priestley, good evening. Everyone's just in time for a must-watch. He said, obviously, love to see you in there. And we've got also Simply Bespoke Travel tuning in, saying evening. Hello, Simply Bespoke Travel. Good to see you in the chat room this week. And always nice to see a new face in the chat room each week.
There's another new face in there as well, which I'm sure you'll come to in a minute.
Oh, let me just scroll down. Vision Forge. Paramotor pilot here. Just found this podcast. Hello to you. Hello to you, Vision Forge. Good to see you in the chat room. So what have we got on the show tonight? We've got loads of news, as always. We have also got our retro airline ad of the week, which this week I chose a special one. As Nev's been away for a few weeks, we have got a very nice classic BA retro airline ad this week, especially for you, Nev. We've also got some military news, and also we've got some awesome segments to play out as well to you, as Nev was saying earlier, one from the Bray Air show, and we've also got an excellent first part of that interview segment or series that Nev and Captain Nick done at the weekend to come as well, which is absolutely, honestly, you've got to stay tuned to watch it because it is so good. Plus, obviously, loads of comments in the chat room, no doubt, as always. So if all the team are ready, shall we do some commercial news?
Yes, please.
Let's.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Try and dial in.
And the first story this week,
Carlos, I'm going to have to stop you there, I'm afraid. We've still got the double echo on the video. We need to sort it out before we play anything more. Are you happy for me to try and dial in?
You can do.
I haven't got the. I'll have to try and do it on my phone.
I've got a feeling I know what it is, Matt.
Okay, all right.
It's probably the send to master is clicked on some of the intro things. I've just noticed that.
Yeah, it should only be on A.
Yeah, it should only be on A.
And then A should have the M clicked on it, yeah?
Yeah. So I need to, that's what it is. So hopefully that should be fixed now.
Okay, all right. Well, if you rerun the intro, because then it'll give me one easy edit point.
Intro for the commercial news?
So rerun the intro for the commercial news, and that'll hopefully we'll know on YouTube if that's right, basically.
Fingers crossed that would have fixed it. Right. And all the M's are definitely off. So apologies for that. Right, here we go.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Right, first story this week then comes to us from businessinsider.com. And well, it'd be interesting to see what the YouTube viewers think of this one. A Chinese airline is launching a 12,000-mile, 29-hour-long flight across the Pacific. So from December this year, China Eastern Airlines plans to operate a 29-hour-long flight from Argentina's capital, Buenos Aires, to Shanghai. The flight will be operated on a 777-300, one of the world's longest-range commercial aircraft, but its 12,000-mile distance means that it will need to stop mid-journey. The flight has a 2-hour stopover in Auckland, New Zealand, but it doesn't look like the passengers will have the chance to deplane and stretch their legs. It won't be cheap to get a ticket on board either. One-way economy tickets for flights in December are being advertised on China Eastern's website for between $1,500 and $2,270. And if you wanted to upgrade to business class to enjoy a fully lie-flat bed during the immense flight, it will cost you at least £5,000 or $5,000. Hello, wife. Meanwhile, the outbound flight from Shanghai to Buenos Aires is a bit faster thanks to the prevailing high altitude winds and is scheduled to take around 25 and a half hours. Blimey. Both flights are scheduled to operate twice weekly. The outbound flight, China Eastern 745, will operate Mondays and Thursdays starting from December the 4th. The world's longest direct flight, designated China Eastern 746, is scheduled for Tuesdays and Fridays. China Eastern Flight 746 would be the world's longest direct flight at 29 hours, and it's set to be 3 hours longer than the current record holder of Air China Flight 897, which travels from Beijing to Sao Paulo, Madrid, via Madrid. There's also a distinction between direct flights and non-stop flights. And Singapore Airlines, they hold the title for the latter, taking nearly 19 hours to go from New York to Singapore. However, are you ready? This record is also set to be broken in 2026 when Australia's Qantas launches 2 non-stop flights to the US and the UK. So, what do we think, guys? Would you like to sit on board here then, Nev? Seat 1A, 29 hours?
Well, I wouldn't mind, but the it's a bit misleading, isn't it? It says it's launching a 29-hour long flight. Well, it's not, is it really? Because it's actually going to stop for a couple of hours to refuel and recater. And they're saying that they won't allow passengers off the aircraft. I think that's ridiculous, because if they're going to recater and clean the aircraft for the next sector, they're going to have to do that. And certainly when I've been flying with Singapore down to, actually it was on the way back from Melbourne, wasn't it? Back in about 2003. Yeah, we had about an hour and a half stopover in Singapore, but we got off the aircraft and just went into, I think it was a departure lounge area actually. But yeah, they kind of need people off the aircraft if they're going to be doing that. That said, yeah, I wouldn't mind trying the really long haul stuff, the non-stop stuff, just once, I think. But as long as I'm in a decent seat when Qantas do theirs. But yeah, I don't know, on a 777. I'd sooner be on a 787 or an A350 if we're going to do that sort of distance. But I'm sure it will appeal to some people, even with the cost of the tickets as they are.
But I mean, surely they need to come, you know, like they'll be able to sort of restock the aircraft, clean it and all that kind of thing in way less time if everybody's sort of off-planed and, you know, just going into the terminal for a little while. I appreciate that, you know, I mean, obviously you're going to be fed and watered well on these particular flights, even in economy class. But so I appreciate you're not going to probably spend that 2 hours having a bite to eat or something like that. But you know, if nothing else, I mean, I would want to get off, if only to just stretch my legs for a couple of hours, just to sort of, you know, sort of walk around and have a slight change of scenery and, you know, go and have a pint somewhere, or do you know what I mean? It just sort of like, just to sort of stretch the legs, frankly.
Yeah, I don't see how the ground crew can possibly deal with that unless they've got the passengers off the plane or on that sort of length of sector. Absolutely.
There's some good comments in the chat room, guys. And if you had a chance to see the ones from Lee Davies, John Falk as well, and John Jester as well. But Lee says, if cleaning while passengers on board, can passengers get their laundry done as well? I like that one. John Falk has said, this is quite a good one actually from John Falk, says, on very long sectors, do they ever run out of water to flush the loos? I mean, that's a good point, I suppose. You need water to flush the loos. On an extremely long sector like that, you've got people, more and more people using the loo, obviously. John Jester follows up with, no way you'll get me on that flight.
Oh, really?
Quite.
No.
Owen's in the chat room. Very good evening to Owen. He's saying the place I work does have flights that have stopovers where passengers don't get off. Catering do come on board and cleaning do come on board, but the transit passengers stay. Interesting.
It's a case, isn't it, guys? That's the thing we always say on the show. If you're sitting in the posh seats, then a 20-hour or whatever, 19-hour flight is or 25-hour whatever flight is not going to be that hard on you. Whereas if you're sitting in the economy seats, if they're bad, I mean, to be fair, Emirates economy is lovely. There's tons of legroom, but that's not all airlines are that way. Some of the long-haul airlines economy seats are a bit poor. But yeah, it does boil down to the fact if you're going to go on a long flight like that, I would probably opt, if you can afford to move into the premium cabin at least. Pay the few quid extra, but
not always an option for a lot of us.
It's not always an option. No, it's very true. And actually, Nev, to be fair, the few times that I've flown with BA in their premium economy, the premium economy seats with BA have been very nice and comfortable. Loads of
I
them.
agree. No, it's pretty decent actually. In my case, I would be taking my butler with me so that he or she can deal with my laundry needs and
Oh dear. Right, Nev, next one up for you, and a bit of skids going on.
Yes, on tvpworld.com, it says that Krakow Airport was closed for hours after planes skids off runway. Well, the aircraft operated by Polish charter airline Enter Air veered onto a grassy area adjacent to the tarmac at Krakow Airport as it landed around 2 p.m. The aircraft was safely evacuated and no one was hurt. With the jet needing to be recovered, the airport was closed for several hours with many flights redirected or cancelled. Services were fully restored before 1 a.m. on the Monday. Airport officials said specialist equipment was brought in from the Czech Republic to help tow the plane from its position on the edge of the runway. Whilst the airport has reopened, the hours-long closure will have had an impact on passengers travelling on the Monday. The Enter Air flight departed from the southern Turkish city of Antalya shortly after 12 noon local time on Sunday. When it arrived at Krakow Airport, it skidded off the runway amid heavy rain. Around 190 people were on board and all passengers were evacuated and taken to the airport terminal. In light of the unusual occurrence, Krakow Airport was immediately closed with several flights rerouted to Katowice, some 80 kilometres further west, and Ostrava in the Czech Republic. Other scheduled flights to Poland's top tourist destination were cancelled by operators, whilst no outbound flights could depart as emergency services sought to remove the plane from the grassy area next to the runway. The airport said that the special equipment was brought in from Ostrava to help with the removal operation, which ended after midnight. With the equipment of the Air Rescue and Fire Service and the State Fire Service was involved in the action of removing the aircraft from the runway, and also in accordance with the decision of the carrier Enter Air, specialised equipment was brought to the site, which is available to the fire brigade unit from Ostrava, officials said. Nowhere on the article does it say what aircraft it was. I was assuming it was a
737, yeah.
737, wasn't it? Yes, yeah. Yes, bit of aquaplaning possibly, or bit of loss of control at the last minute. Not
Weather.
ideal.
Yeah, weather related. Bit slippery on the old runway. I think when it's been dry for quite a while now, even like the roads here in the UK, and it's been dry for a long while. We suddenly get a deluge of rain. The roads then become like skating rings, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm sure they'll pull this out clean the mud off the wheels, and this aircraft will be back in the air within days. Yeah.
That sounds almost like a non-event, except it was. If you see what I mean.
It does, yeah. Nev, you have actually got the next story, and this one shocked me when I found this one, because we've had a few stories similar to this in the last few weeks, but honestly, if I had a job like this, God, I would never jeopardise it this way.
So let's say you're a first officer or a captain and you're deadheading on a company aircraft, and you decide to get involved or cause a disturbance and start mixing it with the passengers. This is not a good career move, I don't think. But anyway, this lady decided that she was going to do that. It's on aviationatoz.com, and it says a British Airways pilot was suspended after allegedly becoming disruptive whilst travelling as a passenger on flight BA 1457 from Edinburgh to London Heathrow. I've taken that very flight many times. Police Scotland later arrested the 51-year-old after she reported resisting officers on the aircraft. The incident delayed the short-haul Airbus A319 service by more than 90 minutes. The pilot, who was due to operate another flight upon arrival in London, had been barred from duty whilst investigations continued. The pilot, who had a considerable number of hours on the Boeing 787, was flying as a passenger when the situation escalated. Witnesses claimed she appeared heavily intoxicated and displayed aggressive behaviour towards others on board. Cabin crew reported the disturbance to the flight deck, prompting the captain to return the aircraft to the gate before departure. Police boarded the aircraft upon arrival at the stand, and according to reports, the woman became combative during the arrest, allegedly striking out at officers. Authorities charged her in connection with aviation-related offences and assault. British Airways confirmed the immediate suspension of the pilot, but declined to provide further comment, citing the ongoing police investigation. A spokesperson from Police Scotland stated that the woman had been arrested and charged, with inquiries ongoing. As mentioned previously, flight BA 1457 eventually departed after a significant delay, with replacement crew ensuring passengers reached London safely. Oh dear, that's an error, isn't it?
I mean,
would say.
of all the people, you'd have thought that an actual pilot would know the implications of like behaving in this way. You'd like to think that that's not something that would enter their head at all.
No, and obviously the lady concerned is innocent until proven guilty, so there's not ongoing investigation, so that's fair enough. But from these reports in the media so far, and it's not just one source, it's several, and with independent passenger reports as well, I think that was... that could be career altering. That
honestly,
that error that she made. Yeah.
I mean, based on this story, though, as I say, this is the last thing you'd expect somebody with some experience. Like Carlos says, it's like, if you got that job,
honestly, I know.
why on earth would you do anything to do that? And also, you as a pilot would know better than anyone else the implications of resisting arrest and all that kind of thing. It just beggars belief.
Yeah.
Perhaps the Sun have made it up.
Oh, I don't know.
Let's cling on to that.
There's been a few.
There's a terrible misunderstanding, and the Sun have misreported something.
There was another one in the US this week as well, where a pilot was took off a flight. I read. Yeah, it's not just here in the UK, but I honestly, it's like we just said. Why would you? Honestly, why would you do it? Why would you even risk it? Just absolutely ridiculous. Anywho. Right, next story comes to us from travellingforbusiness.co.uk, and I've got a massive bit to add at the end of this, which I forgot to add in the last week's show. But anyway, Leeds and other UK airports make £2 million a day from parking, and here's how to avoid fees. So Bristol Airport generated a substantial revenue from parking in 2024, with 1 day long-term parking at £60 and a £7 charge for just 10 minutes at the terminal. Half of the UK's busiest airports have increased drop-off fees, making early planning critical for travellers seeking to avoid extra costs. It's from kiss and fly drop-offs to long-term stays, travellers are paying more than ever to park near terminals. Transfero says drop-off charges now range from £5 to £7 for just 5 to 10 minutes. So regional airport parking costs, have a quick run through. Manchester Airport, £5 for 5 minutes. London Luton, £5 for 5 minutes. Long-term rates are rising apparently. London Gatwick is £7 for 10 minutes. Bristol Airport, £7 for 10 minutes. Leeds Bradford, £7 for 10 minutes. Edinburgh, never should know this one, £6 for 10 minutes. Liverpool's John Lennon Airport, £6 for 10 minutes. London City remains unique as the only major airport offering free short-term drop-offs. Well done, London City. But it has the highest long-term parking at, God blimey, Nev, £74.90 per day to park at London City Airport.
Yeah, I think if you just turn up without pre-booking it, but it is on the high side, certainly.
Tips to beat the airport parking costs. Well, we kind of know most of these. Many private car parks have cheaper long-term parking with shuttle services. We know this. Public transport, trains and buses and tube often save money, which is a definite win if you can use the public transport. Sharing rides is obviously a good way of doing it, as always. And as Nev just said, book in advance. If you do book in advance, you can save yourself a fortune on car parking rates. Also, this has caught me out a few years ago now. I think it was about 2 years ago I caught out with this one. When they extended the ULEZ zone around London Heathrow Airport, they extended it to encompass the Renaissance Hotel, which is where we've held one of our milestone shows. And I got caught on camera there going to the Renaissance Hotel because my car was not ULEZ at the time, ULEZ compliant. Yeah. So I had a little fine there. So be careful with that as well. Airport parking fees, it says here, are one of the most underestimated travel costs in the UK. Passengers often arrive at terminals assuming short stays or drop-offs are manageable, only to face charges of between £5 and £7. Obviously, the regional differences are very much different between airports. You need to always look and check up on this. Airport travel shouldn't be stressful before you even board a plane. Planning your travel drop-offs, parking stays ensures travellers keep in control of their budgets. This is all, we all know these sorts of things. So my huge bug with a certain airport that we're local to here, where me and Matt Smith live, Norwich Airport. So a few weeks ago, I went to pick up one of our chat room viewers here, one of our guests, Mr. John Jester from Norwich Airport. Or London Norwich Airport. I picked him up from the pick-up and drop-off point there, which is just outside the airport. As Matt will know, it's through the barrier, and there's a little bit you can pull in, pick up, and then drive straight out. I was probably in and out within, I would have said, 3 minutes tops, and that's being generous. 3 minutes. £5. Boom. To get out, and you have to pay the £5 to get out of the barrier with your contactless on your phone or on your card to get out. But yeah, £5.
So Stansted have just changed to a gateless system. So if you do a sort of drop off outside the front of the terminal, which you can still do, that's now £7. I'm surprised that's not listed in there because so basically London Stansted, it's £7 to do what I call a drive by. So you can sort of either drop off or pick up outside the front of the terminal. But that's all gateless now. And the first time that I did that, I forgot that I needed to sort of pay it when I got home because it's a bit like the dart charge where you've got 24 hours to pay for it. And that was like a £60-odd fine. I had the same thing when we were doing what was the one near Brooklands, that one there. We did that, and I dropped some of our guests back into central London when I went, and I didn't realise my vehicle wasn't ULEZ compliant at the time. So I got stung twice because I got stung for the congestion charge and then also the ULEZ, which I didn't realise had sort of stepped into that bit. That particular nice gesture cost me something in the region of about £110, I think, by the time I'd been find and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely strong advice is to make sure you know what you're doing before you go.
Nice one comment from Alan White in the chat room says, proud to say that when I collected Carlos back in August, thanks for that again, Alan, from Dublin, it was free of charge. There is no charge to drop or collect as long as you stay with your vehicle.
Now in Belfast, so when we had a family party actually Omagh is where we were staying, or just outside Omagh, for a party, and my cousin Trevor had what we call the party bus, and he came and picked us up in that. And believe it or not, to come and pick us up outside, right the front, so you didn't have to walk very far or anything to do it. It was £1. It was £1 for him to come in. To pick you up,
fair enough.
Take you out again, and you think, well, that's fair enough, isn't it? You know. But,
what's your view on, before we move on, Nev, on these parking charges and stuff?
I think that the various airports, I mean, there's just been one or two that tried it originally, and I'm sure that the airports have colluded slightly. They're going, do you know what, this is going to work, and they can't lose, can they? Because people do drop people off at the airport, so it almost wouldn't matter how much they charged. People would have to pay it. And originally they were saying back in about 2021, something like that. Well, the thing is that, you know, we've had so much revenue reduction due to the pandemic and nobody using the airport and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's turned out to be rubbish, really, because they've more than made up for it with what's been going on recently. And I think it's a bit much. I mean, if it's a nominal fee, a couple of quid, couple of euro, you might go, well, fair enough. But some of these charges are getting a bit hot now. And I don't know what regulation there is, because obviously these are private airports, and actually the parking is not done by the airport. That's often subcontracted to a third party. And again, you get the nasty letter through the post if you don't pay it. And then you start getting really nasty letters, and then the prospect of the bailiffs turning up at your house and stuff like that if you're not careful. So it's there's some, it's crept up as well, isn't it? You know, £6-7 again now, whereas previously it was a couple of quid. I think Birmingham and Luton won the first to try it out. But it's I think it's a bit sharp practice myself.
Jonathan Warner just said in the chat room, long stay at Heathrow, Nev, free for 30 minutes. He always goes there, and it's a 5-minute shuttle bus.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's the same sort of thing with a lot of the airports. There are still options where you can drop people off at the airport, and it is essentially no cost for you to do that. But as you say, you have to you have to then jump on the shuttle bus to get yourself round there. So I mean, there are options to do it, and you know, like the trip that I did this weekend just gone. So on Sunday, where I dropped the people whose house I'm house sitting for off, and that was £7 for me to do that. But it was worth it, if you like, from the convenience of being able to drop them off directly outside the airport. So, you know, I guess that's the reality, isn't it? There are options there to not have to pay that fee and still drop people off at the airport if you want to, but of course it's not as convenient, isn't it? So you are paying for that convenience, essentially.
Well, I shan't be making that mistake again. If I have to drop or pick up anyone from Norwich Airport, I shall be stopping at the roundabout just outside the car park barrier.
Did you charge John for this, by the way?
Hope not.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No, blimey. It was an honour to pick John up, to be fair. You know.
Well, we've got to think about our own revenue as well. You know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Oh, my word. Oh, blimey. Right. Now, Nev, you've got the next story. And I just love the headline on this. Take it away, Nev.
Yeah, it's on timeout.com. And the worst airport in the UK has been named and shamed. And it's not Luton. That's the headline.
Rubbish.
That's not our headline. That's their headline. Well, it says you'd be hard-pressed to find an airport that doesn't induce even the slightest bit of stress, from ensuring you have an up-to-date passport to proving that your suitcase will, in fact, fit in the overhead locker. There's a whole load of logistics involved in flying before you can really kick back and relax. But, of course, there are airports that make the process a lot more bearable than others, and those that make it even more of a nightmare. So, to help you avoid as much stress as you can next holiday, which has revealed its ranking of UK airports for 2025. It quizzed around 4,600 of its members, plus 1,100 members of the public on their airport experiences over the last 12 months. Well, whilst Exeter was crowned the best of the bunch, Manchester Airport emerged as the worst airport in the UK, with Terminal 3 being the worst of all, with an overall customer score of 43%. I have to say, that's quite high for T3 at Manchester, followed by Terminal 1 with 47% and Terminal 2 with 53%, narrowly beating London Luton. Terminal 3 was given just 1 star for its queues at airport security, its seating and its range of food and shopping outlets. It earned 2 stars in all of the remaining categories, including its staff, toilets and passport control queues. It said it's a mystery as to why Manchester Airport can't drag itself from the bottom of our table after all the money that's been spent on it, which is £1.3 billion in the last few years. Visitors complain of long walks, a lack of seating, disorganised and stressful queues, plus the usual rip-off prices for food and drink. One traveller called the staff rude and unhelpful. I would say that was an understatement in parts of T3 that I've been to previously, adding that it's no surprise that staff can be grumpy working in the overcrowded and run-down terminals 1 and 3. That is true, actually. The nearby Liverpool John Lennon Airport, which is a 35-minute drive away, was ranked the second best in the UK, so you might be better off flying from there. Manchester Airport has hit back at the survey, though, with Chris Woodroff, its managing director, saying, "I'm proud to say that customer satisfaction has increased significantly over the past 4 years. We know how customers feel about their experience because we asked hundreds of them every week about it. Between January and June of this year, 91% of 3,045 people surveyed told us their experience was good, very good, or excellent. That is how I know that the latest outdated and unrepresentative report from which bears no resemblance to the experience people receive at Manchester Airport day in and day out." In some news that could help its climate ranking, Manchester Airport is getting a huge overhaul, which will see its Terminal 3 become bigger and more passenger friendly. Well, it's about time too, I have to say. I know our listener, Alan, was saying that he's got his Aer Lingus flight from Terminal 2 now at Manchester, which is a big improvement over T3. Yeah, so we'll see. I haven't flown out of Manchester for probably about 18 months, something like that. So I don't know the latest, but I do hear some horror stories from some of our fellow pilots and some of our fellow listeners as well. So let's see if they can improve upon it.
Yes, I've never flown from Manchester, ever flown. We need to make a mission up there, obviously, to go and see the awesome gallery they've got up there now as well, the viewing gallery. I know they've done some upgrades up there, Nev, and obviously you've got the hangar where that Concorde is as well, haven't you?
There's a Concorde
there, yeah.
There is, yeah.
Right, next story from passengerterminaltoday.com. And we talk on the show, don't we, guys, about emissions from aircraft, but obviously this is one emission we don't normally talk about in the show, and that is emissions from APUs. Copenhagen Airport has deployed ASIA's emission control technology to monitor aircraft ground emissions from auxiliary power units, or APUs, in real time. The technology addresses what Asia describes as sustainability challenges in the aviation industry, where airports struggle to reduce APU use due to a lack of data on APU runtime across variable locations and weather conditions. With the deployment of the technology, CPH states that it's the first airport in the world to achieve this advanced emissions monitoring capability across the majority of its stands. The AI-powered system uses a advanced camera technology to track APU use during the aircraft turnarounds, providing CPH with detailed data contextualized by weather conditions. With a better understanding of APU use patterns, CPH will be better placed for future initiatives aimed at reducing emissions. The system delivers real-time insights through an accessible interface that lets operations teams understand when APUs are running longer than necessary while ground power alternatives are available. This data-driven approach enables CPH to move beyond assumptions and begin exploring targeted initiatives to minimise unnecessary APU use. Airlines operating at CPH will see reduced fuel consumption at lower operational costs, and the company states it's helping reduce emissions and improve air quality. Christopher Plenge-Brandt, COO at CPH, said the use of APU contributes to noise and emissions of CO2 and air pollution, including ultrafine particles, which are a concern for both our employees and our neighbouring communities. With this tool, we can identify when our operational guidelines are not being met and understand the reasons behind it. That insight is essential for developing effective measures to support cleaner ground operations. Christian Hen, CEO of Asia, said, "We know that effective reduction strategies require real-world data, but until now airports have been working with incomplete information. Weather conditions significantly impact APU runtimes and needs, from extreme cold requiring longer warm-up times to hot conditions affecting cabin cooling requirements. And the technology fills this critical data gap by providing continuous monitoring that captures these variable scenarios." So something we've not really spoke about on the show in regards to emissions from APUs, but it is something that I think we all know, guys, gets used, well, quite a bit on aircraft on the ground. What do you think, Nev?
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of forget about it's a little jet engine in the back that's providing electrical and hydraulics in some cases as well. So it is a number. If you multiply that by the number of aircraft that are on stand with the APUs running, then it's quite significant, isn't it? So it's good to see that there's some some attempt to reduce that, and obviously that will reduce fuel consumption as well. That's the other thing, because obviously the APUs require fuel to run them.
I suppose as well, Nev, there are some airports that don't have the relevant kind of capabilities to allow aircraft to be connected to ground, or have ground access to power and stuff like that. So airliners have to use their own APUs sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, particularly cold areas, as in a lot of Scandinavia, Copenhagen as well, they're going to need that for a longer period of time. Or in very hot areas, of course, they need it to cool the aircraft as well if there's no ground facility available. Right, Nev, you've got some good news for any of our listeners who live in Canada.
Well, you won't get me on this aircraft, I have to say. We'll have to see. Anyway, it's on flightglobal.com. It says Air Canada has identified the first new route on which it will deploy its incoming Airbus A321 XLR aircraft, which the airline says will unlock long-haul flights to secondary cities that do not support wide-body operations. Montreal to Palma de Mallorca, the capitals of Spain, Balearic Archipelago in the Western Mediterranean, is targeted to launch in June 2026 using A321 XLRs, Air Canada said on the 9th of September. The seasonal route is scheduled to run between the 17th of June and 23rd of October next year. Also targeted for that service, using the A321 XLR, are existing routes between Montreal, Toulouse and Montreal, Edinburgh, due to transition to the latest generation Airbus narrowbodies later in 2026. The Montreal headquartered carrier emphasises that it will be receiving deliveries of the extra-long-range variant of Airbus's flagship narrow-body A321neo in early 2026. That aligns with the carrier's previously disclosed timeline for taking its first A321 XLRs and Boeing 787-10s, which were initially expected this year. Mark Gallardo, Air Canada's Chief Commercial Officer, said the imminent arrival of the carrier's first A321 XLRs marks the next phase of international growth at Air Canada. He added that the planned Montreal to Palma de Mallorca route is an example of the exciting global opportunities unlocked by the A321 XLR's wide-body range. I didn't think the A321 XLR was a wide body. Anyway, the Air Canada folks hold firm orders for 30 A321 XLRs and options to order another 10 between 2030 and 2032 for a potential 40 of the extra long-range jets. The incoming narrow bodies will be powered by Pratt & Whitney PW 1100G geared turbofan engines. The carrier will configure its A321 XLRs with 14 lie-flat seats in business class and 168 economy class seats. Well, I won't be doing that.
You're not feeling it, are you, Niv?
No, I'm not doing single aisle.
The seats are not too bad.
Sorry, not doing it. Absolutely no, not doing it. And also, what I don't understand is why can't Palma Airport take wide body? That's garbage, isn't it? Of course it can. A330s and 787s and A350s land there all the time. So, anyway, bit of marketing hype, perhaps.
Probably a cost issue somewhere in there they don't want to pay.
Well, yeah, could be. Obviously, the fuel saving, I get all that. But as a passenger, I'm not so keen. I'm not so keen on it.
It's the whole thing about, I think for me, it's the whole thing there about when you're sitting in not only the window seat, but even the aisle seat on that flight, all those people, and you've still got one aisle and a loose at the front and loose at the back. Whereas obviously when you're in a twin aisle aircraft, long, wide body, you've at least got potentially two avenues to try and get out of your seat and get to a toilet somewhere on the aircraft.
Yes, and how can I say this? When you're a gentleman or lady of a certain age, when you want to go to the facility, you need to know roughly what that waiting time is going to be. And if you're presented with a big queue or what have you, that could be difficult, So, yeah. But, yeah, not for me, guys, I'm afraid. Sorry.
No.
Not feeling it at all.
Not at all. Right, moving swiftly on. CAASINT.com. Interesting website. This is Airbus begins assembly of the first A350 freighter in Toulouse. Airbus has moved into the production phase of its first A350 freighter after completing delivery of all the major components to its final assembly line in Toulouse. The aircraft, known as MSN 700, will be built over the coming months, and with the fuselage and wings now ready for assembly. Airbus plans to carry out initial flight tests in 2026 ahead of the freighter's entry into service in the second half of 2027. The fuselage sections were transported from Airbus's facilities in France and Germany using the Beluga XL aircraft, specially designed for oversized loads and cargo. And the central sections arrived in Toulouse on the 19th of August, followed by the forward sections 2 days later. The rear fuselage, produced in Hamburg, completed the delivery of the aircraft's primary structures. Horst van Herden, Airbus's Senior Vice President of Marketing, said the assembly of the sections will begin in the coming weeks. The A350F, derived from the A350-1000 passenger aircraft, has been adapted specifically for cargo operations. It will be capable of carrying around 111 tons over a range of 4,700 nautical miles. Among its distinguishing features is a main deck cargo door featuring 175 inches wide, designed to streamline loading operations. Airbus is building 2 prototypes of the model for certification and flight test program, expected to run through 2026 and 27, and the freighter is being launched to meet the growing demand for new generations of fuel-efficient cargo aircraft. Now, will this be one after the 777 freighter, Nev, which I think is probably one of the most popular freighter aircraft in the world, I think?
Yeah, well, it's obviously competing head to head, and it's all about payload and what have you, and running costs, etc., etc. So there was rumours that this wasn't going to be built at one point, but they have decided to go ahead with it, haven't they? So no, I think it's very interesting, and there is a requirement for a lot more freight capacity, isn't there?
Definitely.
Around the system. So no, I think it's good. Good to see Airbus doing a 350 freighter.
Plus, I need to obviously have more space to manage all my Temu orders that I'm
quite. So, yeah. Yes.
Always a concern.
Oh dear! Now, Nev, you've got the next story, and this is the sad news. This is, but I'll tell you what, this airline definitely was out there with the liveries for its aircraft.
Well, quite. And having just said on, sectors that I do not want to travel on, this is completely different. I do want to travel on these sectors. It's on aerotime.aero, and it says that Condor prepares for Boeing 757 retirement with special farewell flight. German leisure airline Condor has announced that the timetable will see the carrier phase out of its Boeing 757 operations by the end of 2025. The final scheduled flights of the type have already been scheduled for early November, with a special farewell trip already planned for aviation enthusiasts. Well, my birthday's on the 1st of November, so I wonder if I could have a
I'm up for that.
bounce, see if she might like to buy this for me for my birthday present. Well, for around 30 years, the pencil-like shape of the Boeing 757 has formed the backbone of Condor's short and medium-haul fleet. According to CH Aviation, the airline has operated 18 Boeing 757-200s and 9 of the longer 757-300s during that time. However, with just 6 300 series left in service, the days of the type with Condor are coming to an end. To mark the occasion on the retirement of the last of the 757s, Condor has announced that the last 2 commercial passenger flights using the Dash 300 will operate at the end of October and the start of November 2025. One aircraft will operate a Dusseldorf to Palma service on the 29th of October, whilst the very last flight will be a Frankfurt to Hurghada return trip on November the 2nd. However, these flights will not quite bring the curtain down on 757 operations at the airline. To honour the special occasion of the type's retirement, Condor will operate an exclusive farewell flight on November the 5th, 2025, with long-standing staff members as well as fans of the Boeing 757-300 on board. A total of 75 tickets will be auctioned via the Condor online shop, starting on the 22nd of September. I'm going to look out for that. The special farewell flight is planned to depart Frankfurt for Vienna, where the 757 will be celebrated with a dedicated farewell event. To conclude the day, a Condor statement said that the world's highest party will take place on the return flight to Frankfurt, where the type will finally end Condor service. Those unable to secure one of the limited ticket flights for the farewell flight will still have the opportunity to experience the last 757-300 aircraft in Germany in regular flight operations until early November. According to current plans, Condor will continue to operate 6 of these aircraft until the end of October, connecting Dusseldorf and Frankfurt with popular vacation destinations such as Palma, Hurghada, Fuerteventura and Gran Canaria, added the airline's statement. Core. How about that? I wonder what the auction price for the tickets would be. €30? €40 maybe?
Sure. Yeah. You can dream, I suppose.
Oh dear.
I just
Alan White points out that he thought that the highest party was a stag do in Amsterdam.
Oi.
Yeah, quite. Good point. Well made.
I don't know. Could be Dublin, judging by the one that Carlos has got planned. You know.
Oh dear! I just hope that the fancy liveried one, the stripy one that Condor have got.
Yes.
Of the 7.5. I tell you, I better make sure that there's a door shut, or better make sure the door is shut. We just shut the studio door. If they do, have any bits that I might have a little bit. You never know. Of 7.5.
Yes. Okay.
It was at this moment Carlos forgot that Gemma was listening to the podcast downstairs. Oh dear. So
there'll be an APU turning up in your studio then.
Well, that would be nice. A window section. I could probably. There's room. There definitely is room for one more piece. Actually, two.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Definitely good luck with that. But sad times, Nev. With that for sure, with the 7.5. But I think we're getting down to the last few in Europe now. I think it's mostly the US who operate the 7.5s now.
Yep, United, obviously. Regular visitors to Edinburgh and Stockholm and places like that. I think they go to Frankfurt as well. Not many left at all. What a pity. What a pity that is. But I'm glad that I had the chance to fly on them when they were on the BA shuttle routes back in the day, back in the late 80s and 90s. Really enjoyed that, I must say. And also, I think we took one to Stockholm. I seem to remember going on a 7.5 and a 7.6 to Stockholm on BA as well, back in the day. So, brilliant aircraft. Loved it.
Lee Davis in the chat room says, next week, Carlos turns up with a black eye.
Yeah.
Either that.
No, to be fair, Gemma won't do that. He'll just be homeless.
Yeah, oh God, blimey, yeah. Although I do have a larger garage now, so technically that could be,
Yeah, but there's a reason why the studio that you're in is not in the garage.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can't see there is the 777 windows here and the TriStar windows just there, and then there's bits everywhere. Anyway,
again, good luck.
Moving on before I get shot. Nev, you've got the next part of the show, and it's a favourite part for many, including Dirk in the chat room.
Yes, it's one of his favourite parts, actually, isn't it? Well, it's the Retro Airline Ad of the Week time again. And this week we head back to 1983 to a very sci-fi style advert with an airline that not only moved passengers, but also entire cities.
Roger, Manhattan. Continue descent to flight level 80.
Roger, Heathrow. Descending to SL80.
Manhattan, that's correct. Contact radar director on 120.4. Roger, Manhattan. Continue to 2,000 feet, reduce speed to 170 knots.
Every year, more people choose to fly with British Airways to more countries than with any other airline.
Leaving 2,000 feet on the glide path.
In fact, every year we bring more people across the Atlantic than the entire population of Manhattan.
Manhattan, you are clear to land. 28 right.
British Airways, the world's favourite airline.
There we go. What do you think of that one, Nev?
Brilliant. Love it. Also loved a lot of the hairstyles and some of the fashion there as well. It's great. I'm loving this segment.
It's so good. I was trying to rack my brain, Nev, as to where that was, what film, that sci-fi film that was from. And thanks to the chat room, as always, this week, because that's what the chat room do every week. Close Encounters. I was trying to think where that sci-fi image had come from. It is Close Encounters. Now I know. So thank you.
And as David Bone points out, Lord King's Day, very much so, and along with Colin Marshall as well, the folks that ran the show back in the day. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Love to see those. And there's more where those came from, clearly.
There is. Yeah. It's always good to see a BA one as well, Nev.
It is.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right, Nev, next part of the show, what's coming up?
Right, well, this is one of our the penultimate interview from the Bray Air Show, and this is a really good one. I hope you're going to enjoy this. Well, the BAC Strikemaster Mark 82, which was flown by Ian Brett from Strikemaster Display UK, delivered a powerful aerobatic display that brought a military jet presence to Bray. The Strikemaster, a 1970s era jet trainer used by several air forces, is known for its robust design and versatility, powered by a Rolls-Royce Viper engine. Well, Ian showcased the aircraft's agility through tight loops, rolls and high-speed passes. Its distinctive grey ex-Sultan of Oman Air Force camouflage livery cutting a striking figure against the clear skies. Well, the Strikemaster's raw and dynamic manoeuvres evoked the era of Cold War aviation, thrilling spectators with its high blend of precision and power. As one of the few jet displays at the Bray 2025, it added a high-octane dimension to the lineup, cementing its place as a fan's favourite. Well, before the aircraft left Western Airport for its display, Carlos spoke to Ian and engineer Adi Frost about this incredible aircraft.
So you join us at Western Airfields here, and Adi and Ian, welcome onto the show. So Adi, tell us a bit about yourself. Or how did you get into aviation, I should say?
I grew up at an airfield I grew up at a village which is affiliated with Airbus UK, which is Broughton.
Oh, right, yeah.
Harden Airfield, they build all the wings for the Airbus. My dad was in the RAF as well, so I wanted to get into aviation, and my first job after leaving college was at Airbus. It was BAE Systems back then. I worked there for 2 years, then went to university, did a degree in aerospace engineering, and then I wanted some work experience to get my hands on actual aircraft. So I came down to the company that looked after these aircraft, and it all went from there. So that was over 20 years ago.
So did you start kind of fly, or do you fly, or no, you just engineer and kind of thing?
Engineer, yeah.
I think it's one of the things we talk on the show about pilots. Obviously, we talk to pilots all the time, but we never get a chance to kind of talk to engineers, because without you guys, it's like the aircraft's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, how do you get into engineering?
With great difficulty. I volunteered for I volunteered a whole summer while I was at university, and then went back the following year and volunteered a whole summer. Obviously, university, you get quite a few months off, don't you? So I did about 5 months a year volunteering on these. And then after university, I got a job with them. And then, but a degree doesn't really get you anywhere when it comes to aircraft maintenance. So I had to build up my experience, keep a log, and then I started doing my licensed my CA exams, so for the Part 66 licence. That took quite a few years. I got stuck on Module 3 for a bit, which is electrical systems. And then I got my licence finally in 2016. Although because of my degree, I was able to become the continuing airworthiness manager, which is basically controlling the maintenance for the aircraft, and I became that in 2012. And now I run the company.
Oh wow! Engineering wise, okay. So like I think most people associate aircraft within the service and stuff being brand new, shiny aircraft. Everything is all new and shiny. But
in general aviation, that doesn't really happen. I mean, this aircraft is built in 1986. I look after Pipers from the 60s. You know, it's.
So how easy? This is a Strikemaster.
Yes.
Obviously, as you said, 80s aircraft. Is there manuals?
Mostly 70s.
Is there like manuals you have to read to learn how to do the engineer? I mean, it must take an age.
Yeah, but it's. Although yes, I am younger than people who would have worked on these in the military. at the time when back in 2004, we had people working for the company that had worked on them, and both of them have passed away now. But one of the guys was a chief tech at Cosford. He was teaching RAF engineers, generations of RAF engineers on the Jet Provost, which obviously there are quite a few similarities. And then the other engineer we had, he had worked out in Saudi on Strikemasters. So it's not like I just read a book to find out how these worked. The knowledge was passed down. So
I'm guessing you pick things up as you go along.
Yes.
And
experience. I mean, this was put on the G register in 2004, so it's now been flying for 21 years. So we have 21 years of experience of operating this one aircraft, and we know its interesting habits.
Would you say it's as easy to work on than something that's full of computers? Because I'm guessing this is more mechanical than
computers on this. The most powerful computer is the one in Bertie's pocket. So it's all manual controls. There's not even any powered flying controls. It's all cables, which obviously for the pilots makes it quite heavy, especially at higher speeds. Not that this can go very fast. It's straight wing. We actually got a noise complaint, which quite entertainingly 2 weeks ago, saying, "You flew over my house at 340 knots." And we were scratching our heads going, well, we could go 340 knots, but we probably would have had to have been going downhill. And at that point, that's very unlikely. So we did bring up the Sky Demon Trace, didn't we? And found that we were going nowhere near 340 knots. And so, it's straight wing, so it has its limitations. It's basic. It is basic.
It's basic.
Yeah.
But you love working on it.
Oh, yeah. They're more interested in working on something like this.
I think it's one of those aircraft. we go to air shows all around the UK and around the sort of the globe as such. But this is the first time I've actually been standing up close to a Strikemaster. It's not. Are there a lot of these around?
No, there's not. No, there's 4 flying in. Well, I guess 3 flying in the UK. There's another one which we have, which is having a little bit of a renovation, so it's not currently flying. But yeah, there's only 3 flying in the UK. But to be honest, there's not many Jet Provosts about either. So you might think that there's a lot about, but there's simply not anymore. There's 2 JP5s flying. One of them hasn't flown for a little while, and there's 2 JP3s flying, and that's it at the moment.
Wow. But you're looking after this one, and it's going well.
Yeah. And we've got the other Omani coloured one as well. That's flying a lot out of North Weald at the moment. So, yeah.
I noticed the markings, the Omani markings on there. It's quite a distinct kind of. Yeah.
They're good. So my late husband was a pilot. He obviously got me into this and bought the aeroplanes. He bought this aircraft directly from the Omani Air Force. The other aircraft we've got in Sultan of Oman colour scheme, which is the brown with the red roundels, that is actually a Saudi airframe, although it has Omani wings, because we had a set of wings which were very low fatigue, so we fitted the Omani wings to it, and that one's a Saudi one. So they are slightly different. This one's not pressurised and never was. Yeah. The other one is. So this one tends to go a little bit faster because there's no bleed air taken.
Now, Ian, you've got the job of flying this amazing aircraft.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Fun. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't, and it is. It's just it's a lot of fun. The aeroplane has a lot of performance. Often we display as a pair, so 2 jets, and so we can fly in close formation doing aerobatics, so upside down, close together, a few feet away from another jet, and it's a lot of fun. And the jet, it goes fast, it's got a lot of power, and when we're flying an aerobatic routine, we're often coming back on the throttle to manage our energy rather than pushing the throttle forward, which we often do in other aircraft.
So a bit about yourself, Ian. Where was your aviation start?
Started in the light aircraft general aviation world of a PPL in a Cessna 152 25 years ago, which I still love to fly those aeroplanes. So But that's where it started. It led me into, and then some gliding as well, but then led me into the Air Force, in which I flew the Tornado GR4, and then was an instructor for a few years. And I've now left the Air Force, but I'm lucky enough to still get to keep my hand in these things.
What an awesome career to then end up flying this amazing aircraft.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is brilliant, but it's the blend. I still get to fly and love to fly light aircraft as well as an instructor and an examiner. But this is particularly special. I mean, the pleasure we get out of bringing it to air shows like we are this weekend, getting to fly, in front of people who've come to see us, having a nice weekend out at the beach, watching us go upside down with some smoke coming out the back. We're having fun, they're having fun, we're making a bit of noise, going quite fast, pulling some G and going upside down, and it's a good day out for everyone.
So that's the kind of flying you enjoy most then, I suppose, aerobatic display?
Aerobatic display, I'm here displaying just the one jet today, so on my own, but often we, as I said, display as a pair, and the formation stuff, like the teamwork aspect of that, adds a whole new dimension. So I particularly like following another aeroplane around a few feet away from it, upside down, close to the ground, and sort of coordinating that aerial dance with another aeroplane. But today it's a different kettle of fish. I'm on my own, so it's me rather than staring out the window at another aeroplane. I'm staring out the window at the crowd line and seeing the people, waving, hopefully enjoying the show in hopefully some nice weather.
So you get to travel with Ian in the aircraft went on the display
No. That was stopped quite a few years ago after a couple of accidents.
Oh, that's a shame. So you're on your own then?
Yeah, we fly together on transits, so obviously over here yesterday and back tomorrow, but any aeroplane, minimum crew.
Yeah, minimum crew only. I get to go up on the practices.
That's good. As an engineer, that's lovely to be able to jump in and
Yeah.
Because one of the things we were just talking about before was the fact that this is obviously a twin seat, but this is side by side rather than one behind each other, which we tend to see more on this kind of style of jet.
Yeah, most fast jets will have a tandem cockpit, one behind the other. This is side by side, rooted in its history as a trainer, and that makes it a great training platform. You can see what your instructor is doing, you can see where they're looking, where their hands and feet are moving, and so as a student you can see the instructor, as the instructor you can see the student, so it made a great platform for training, and it's developed from that trainer, and side by side cockpit, which makes it a bit more sociable when you're transiting around as well. You can have nice conversation and see each other.
Performance wise
of the jet, so when we fly it's up to 5.5 G. That's what we're limited to. Top speed is, if it was clean with nothing under the wings, it would be 450 knots, but we need to be in quite a dive at full power to achieve that. In this configuration it's at 400 knots is the top speed, but in reality in the display will be somewhere around 300 knots. So when I'm pulling sort of up for a loop, I'll enter at 270 knots. So that's generally 250 to 300 knots is what we'll be using for the display.
So what kind of display are you looking forward to this afternoon as us, the viewers? What kind of display are you putting on? Yeah,
so lots of noise, which is what the jet does naturally. Can't help it. Some people love that, some people hate it, but hopefully more people love it than hate it. So lots of noise, you'll see some smoke coming out the back. There'll be lots of graceful aerobatics, which is what we fly in this, unlike some of the sort of gyroscopic stuff that some of the other smaller aeroplanes do, but loops, barrel rolls, aileron rolls, wing overs, that sort of thing. So lots of sort of graceful aerobatics.
And how much prep work goes into like today's display? Have you been sort of doing weeks before?
Yeah, so it starts at the beginning of the year. We start sort of planning the season ahead. We make sure we're current on the aeroplane. We have to renew authorizations to be able to fly the aeroplane, to be able to display the aeroplane. And then practices. So we do a number of practices to get ourselves up to speed, so we're safe, competent, and we can safely perform that show. This time of year we fly a lot, so we're sort of very current. I've flown the aeroplane probably 7 or 8 times this week. So
Wow.
so yeah, very current in what we do, and so we've got another couple of months of air shows. Then it goes quiet over the winter, and we'll be then prepping again for next year.
I'm guessing over the winter time, that's your turn to take everything apart.
Yes.
Favourite time of the year, ready for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, it tends to get done after Christmas a lot of the time, but it had a very big service last year. Every 150 hours on this type of aircraft, you have to take the wings off and and do NDT on the wing attachment points, amongst other things. So that was done last year, so we don't have to take the wings off this year, which is nice, and we can focus on a couple more other aspects, like we have to change the windscreen. The P2 side has got a little bit of crazing, which is quite frustrating, so we have a new windscreen ready to go. We just need the time to do it. That's the plan for this, but then the general annual is a known thing. So,
and then the polishing and cleaning. It does look very good.
Yeah, we painted it gloss, so we didn't have to do much of that. We're lazy.
So the rest of the season, you've got obviously Bray today. You've got more air shows lined up for the rest of the next few months.
We do, yeah. Bray today, Rush tomorrow. That's what brings us here to Ireland this weekend. Then yes, a number of shows. We're at RAF Valley next week. Then we're at Blackpool. We're also at Southport, Ayr, Clacton, Eastbourne, and a couple others in the pipeline as well, sort of bubbling up that we might be doing as well. So,
any in Europe? Or do you go further afield?
No, we don't. We drink quite a lot of fuel to get anywhere, and to go particularly far, particularly into Europe, it costs a lot of money. So we need to quote that, and then the air shows might find something a bit closer to home.
It's a shame because I think they should be kind of going everywhere so people can see what the aircraft is like. Because, like I said, it's the first I've seen them online, but never actually stood right next to one like this. It's a fantastic bit of kit. So congratulations on you both for having an awesome aircraft. So well done. But before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you both a question. You don't look worried. We always ask the pilots and questions, and engineers as well. If we're at Weston, obviously a great airfield here at Weston, really nice airfield. If you were given a chance, Ian, to run out on the field today and take any aircraft up that was sitting out there, be it commercial, GA, military, retired or still flying, but you could go out there now and take it on the circuit here at Weston, what would you take?
Concorde. Absolutely. Concorde would be going supersonic in Concorde. I think that should still be flying.
Yeah, I totally agree. So does Nev. How about you, Adi?
That's a tricky one for me because I don't fly, do I? It's
pretend.
What would I really like to go up in? Probably a Phantom.
A Phantom. I suppose what I really should ask you, Adi, is what aircraft would you love to work on as an engineer? That's a bit of a different one.
That is very different. Yes.
What would you love to strip down?
I don't know. What's the easiest aeroplane I can think of? Tomahawk? No. No. I like working on these.
Yeah.
I like working on these.
Well, thanks for coming on the show today. Much appreciated, taking time out of your day. Have a great display this afternoon. We'll be watching from the flight line. And all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Wow. There we go. What do you think of that then, Tim?
How about that? Well, that was fantastic, and thanks to Ian very much. Ian's in the chat room actually, watching that with us. So, but I hadn't actually fully appreciated that was the last Strikemaster ever built.
Oh wow,
that was amazing. So, thank you very much indeed to both of you for your time. Really enjoyed talking to you at Weston, and what a fantastic display it was as well. We didn't get to see all of it live, unfortunately, because we were doing some interviews over at Bray. But we've seen the video subsequently, and it's absolutely brilliant. So thanks ever so much, Ian, for your time that morning.
Yeah, well done, and good weather as well. It was nice to have good weather that day, especially for the display as well. Always helps, Nev.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, by sheer coincidence, Adi, who's the engineer there, she actually maintains Captain L's PA-28.
Oh,
how about that? So aviation being a small world. So there you go. So
what a small world.
Yeah.
Right, moving on to the next thrilling part of the show, which obviously for Nev is probably the most thrilling part of the show. So over to you, Nev.
Well, you know what's next, don't you? It's the military. So let's play that.
What's up, bogies 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. Let's see, bogies.
You make this all look so easy, Matt. Anyway, first story this week comes from the independent.co.uk, and the headline is UK to deploy Royal Air Force jets to Poland after Russian drone incursion. So the UK will deploy RAF jets to Poland in response to Russia's drones violating the country's airspace. In an interview with Channel 4 News, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said Britain would provide further air defence over Poland following last week's incident, which multiple Russian drones were shot down by NATO forces. He said that's the right thing to do. The wrong thing to do would be to ignore the increased aggression from Russia, and because this was not a one-off. You saw only a few weeks ago the bombing of the British Council in Kiev with the attacking of two EU embassies and the direct hits on the Council of Ministers in Kiev itself. He added it's absolutely clear that Russians are ramping up the aggression. It's very important that with our NATO allies we respond appropriately, and that's what we are going to do today, he said. Typhoon jets from RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire will join NATO's Eastern Sentry mission flying over Poland alongside aircrafts from Denmark, France and Germany. They'll be supported by a Voyager air-to-air aircraft as well for refuelling, based out of Bray Norton in Oxfordshire. Defence Secretary John Healey said the UK is fully committed to playing its part in Eastern Sentry, increasing our military presence on NATO's eastern flank even further. And Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the incident over his country had brought Poland the closest we've ever been to open conflict since World War II, he said. In response, the UK said it would join NATO's efforts to bolster its eastern flank amid concerns Russia would attempt further incursions. So, not to get too political on the show, because that's not what we do, but yeah, this is sort of like a weekly occurrence.
It's worrying times, isn't it? I think that's all we've got to say on it. It's just a very worrying time at the moment, and no obvious sign of tensions easing.
No,
perhaps that's what
sadly
we should say at this point.
No, and I think this is obviously not news, not a new situation, but the escalation of it is greater than ever before, by the looks of things. Where you've got, Russian aircraft or drones, like the aircraft, in direct conflict with NATO forces. That's an extra step, I think, isn't it? So we shall have to see.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for too long on the show, guys. It needs to all come to an end soon. Nev, next one up for you, and good news for Mr. Warner.
Yes, he'll be pleased about this. It's on the aviationist.com, and it says that two B-52H Stratofortress strategic bombers arrived in the UK from Barksdale Air Force Base on September the 12th, ahead of exercise Cobra Warrior 25-2, which kicks off next week. While using the call signs Scalp 93 and Scalp 94, the first of the two B-52s, 61-0029, arrived in British skies around 0730 UTC and touched down at RAF Fairford, Gloucestershire, just after 8 o'clock. The second aircraft, 61-0014, followed a little later on, landing at around 9:30. Of the two aircraft, only 0029 is in the US Air Force nuclear capable fleet, 61-0014 being one of the airframes which had all nuclear weapons related equipment removed to comply with the New START treaty. Nuclear capable and conventional only B-52s can be distinguished by the different positioning of the two antenna fins located towards the rear of the fuselage. Last year it was reported that due to the expiry of the New START, Congress would push for all B-52s to be returned to full nuclear capability. The two bombers in Europe at a particularly tumultuous time. Oops, my screen just jumped there, which is not very helpful, is it? Sorry, guys. Dear, that's not very clever at all, is it? Where's that gone to? Yeah, sorry, I'll read that again.
Must be the Love Shack.
Yeah. The two bombers arrived in Europe at a particularly tumultuous time, although their deployment had been expected by local enthusiasts for some months. As early as May, the participation of the two B-52s in exercise Cobra Warrior 25-2 was confirmed by the UK CAA, though back then we could only speculate whether this would involve full deployment or simply consist of long-range missions undertaken directly from the United States. Both aircraft are being operated by the 307th Bomb Wing, based at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. The 307th previously took part in exercise Cobra Warrior in 2019. The B-52 brings strategic reach and long-range strike capabilities to the flight. Exercises like Cobra Warrior 2025 ensure that we keep a sharp edge, says the unit commander, Lieutenant Colonel Kenny Squires. For our team, it's a chance to operate in a high-tempo coalition environment away from home station and build readiness that underpins global deterrence. It also ensures that our allies have exposure to heavy bomber integration and capabilities that they may not see regularly, so that both of us are prepared for tomorrow's challenges. Gosh, well, how about that?
Now, I'm going to point out, Nev, just something here that I always like to look these things up when we're doing stories like this. And we've talked about it before on the show, but just to point out again that the B-52 first flew in 1952, Nev. So that's 73 years ago, the first B-52 flew in first flight. I just can't get over that. 73 years ago, that aircraft first flew. It is absolutely incredible. It is mind-blowing. But it's a testament to the airframe itself, how blooming good that airframe is, that these aircraft have lasted so many years.
Yeah, longevity is the name of the game there, isn't it? And I'm just having to connect some stuff up here because I've got a power problem, so I'm just having to connect up my USB,
connect his old
trackpad and what have you. But no, I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it? You know, the spares availability for that aircraft might be interesting as well, mightn't it? I mean, obviously they've had to keep the thing going for as long as they have. So
yeah, I think there's a few of these in boneyards. For parts, I think, but
definitely.
Incredible aircraft. Honestly, are so cool. I think the last one I saw of these, Nev, was in the flesh. I should say, was back in 2017 when we were over in Pittsburgh. Was the last time I saw one of these close up and personal. But obviously, Mr. Warner sees these all the time.
Well, yes, it's second nature to him, isn't it?
Second nature. Right, time for another awesome part of the show. This is a brand new segment for the show, one of quite a few parts, and it's safe to say that you were busy a few days ago. Nev, tell us more.
Yes, very much so. If you can show some of those pictures.
Yeah, we'll do.
Carlos, as we're going through this. Well, in his book, Fast Jets on the Front Line, published by Grub Street, Alan Munro reflects on his time in the RAF and the Cold War jets which he flew. Having started his career after basic training on the Gloucester Javelin with number 228 OCU, Alan went on to become a flying instructor at No. 1 Flying School at Linton on Ouse. With the UK's withdrawal from the east of Suez, he found himself with a ground posting and questioning whether he would see frontline flying again. Well, luckily for Alan, this wasn't the case, and he was soon posted to Lightnings and Harriers before returning to 228 OCU to fly on Phantoms. Well, Captain Nick and myself travelled to Alan's house in the Leicestershire countryside this week to speak with him about his aviation adventures. It turns out both he and Nick followed very similar paths in their Royal Air Force careers. So here is part one of that interview.
I'm delighted to be here with Alan Munro to discuss his new book, Fast Jets on the Frontline. Mainly because it's a great read, but also because it will be like walking down memory lane for me, because we share so much in common. We both started our flying careers in the Air Cadets on gliders. We were both awarded flying scholarships at the same little airfield, Fair Oaks, before starting our careers in the Royal Air Force. We flew some of the same jet fighters, the Hunter, the Phantom and the Tornado, and served at many of the same bases. We were both RAF flying instructors, and we concluded our flying days in the civvy world, flying the most advanced airliners of the time. We've even shared some navigators. Welcome to the PTUK podcast, Alan.
Right, thank you very much.
Now, before we delve into some of the fascinating parts of your book, I wonder if you could set the scene by giving us a little condensed version of your wonderful flying career.
I think you already gave it. Career, it was more of a rake's progress. Starting, as you rightly say, with gliders in 1957 at Hornchurch. And there was one spare flight at the end when everybody had done their 3 solos in a T-31. And what do you want to do? And I said, aerobatics. Oh, you have to fly with the CFI. So we took this T-21 up to 900 feet and immediately did 2 loops and landed, a 2-minute flight. And from that point on, I never looked back. So that's what I wanted to do.
Excellent.
And that was cost-effective gliding school.
Oh yeah, very much
Wasn't
so.
it just, yeah.
So many of us were recruited from that environment.
Yeah. And then immediately followed by a flying scholarship, as you rightly say. But the difference was, well, what aeroplane did you fly?
The Cessna 150.
Well, you see, when I did it, there were 8 Tiger Moths on the line every morning.
Oh wow.
And off you went with no particular idea about navigation, no radio. And I remember my cross-country where the CFI was a retired wartime wing commander. He said, that's White Waltham, lad. And he said, you land next to the caravan and the man will come out and sign your form. And then off you go. And that's Kidlington. And you taxi up to the tower and a bloke will come out and sign your form. And I said, have you got that? And I said, yeah, I got all that. And he said, right. And so I was sent off solo. And White Waltham was fine, but Kidlington, nobody came out of the tower, so I shut down. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm on my own, I couldn't come out. And I said, well, that's okay, can you give me a swing? No, I can't come out of the tower. Do you know, I walked the length and breadth of Kidlington, and I found one guy working on an aeroplane. I said, can you come and give me a swing? Oh, mutter. But he did. Because we were definitely not allowed to swing our own props.
Oh, right, okay.
And there weren't any chocks anyway.
Otherwise you wouldn't have been able to get home, presumably.
Well, absolutely, But that's how it was. And people don't realise that. I look back on it, that was pretty primitive. Well, yes, it was. But it was also a bloody good way to start your flying career.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then 170 hours on London University Air Squadron, flying the Chipmunk at White Waltham. And then into the Air Force at Acklington Valley. And we're into the book now where my legs were too long. So I got my lightning posting. Went down to see the doc because I had a cold, and you had to do that in those days, and he filled in a little form that says no flying 48 hours. And then he said, look at your legs. He said, I don't think you'll ever get in a lightning. And he got his measure out, and he said, not a bloody chance. And he filled in a second form saying, can't fly lightnings. My boss went absolutely spare, and before the day was out, I was posted to javelins.
Now, when I was a kid, I used to have a little dinky toy model of a javelin.
I got one upstairs.
Well, I never. It was my prized possession, and I always dreamed of, perhaps getting in the Air Force flying it. But you had an entire tour flying that amazing aeroplane.
It was.
And what? Not only that, you did it out in the Far East.
Yes.
Oh, tell me what that was like.
Hot. Well, you see, this is where the book goes live, really. And I've described what happened when myself and my navigator were sort of coming up to what was called operational. And the flight commander says, who was a real gentleman, Jim, had a polo pony and all the rest of it. And he said, well, look, we were supposed to give you a checkout flight and a briefing, but right now we need a crew on QRA. So you know what to do. You put your life jacket over that chair. You could go and set the aircraft up, which was just outside, and then hang around. So we did all that, and we were hanging around. So we're on. Was it? I think it was 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It might have been. And all of a sudden, the tannoy went, and we were scrambled. And we did exactly as briefed, and we went roaring off down this fast access track that had been built for the Lightning. And we intercepted a Canberra halfway up the Malacca Straits, who was flying in without a flight plan. And I never did find out what he'd been up to, and he wouldn't tell me. And so we did all that, landed, taxied back in, and there's my flight commander saying, well, didn't mean to rush you quite like that, he said, but you were a little bit slow getting out to the aeroplane, but you made up for it on the corners. And he said, here are your operational badges, and I'll brief you later. And we never got the briefing. And the boss came in, and he just stared in amazement, and shook his head and went back to his office. And that's how we became operational.
Brilliant. I read in your book that you called QRA Tramp. What was that about?
Just a code word, that was all.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was so that they go tramp, tramp, tramp on the tannoy, and you knew it was operational message coming for you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered about that. Now, every airplane you've flown undoubtedly had its foibles, but the Javelin had some really odd ones you mentioned in your book. What's this about not using afterburner below 12,000 feet because it reduced thrust?
Yes.
That's amazing.
No, it's not. If you can recall the fuel system on the Jet Provost.
No.
Sorry. Oh, I can remember it. There was, and the NAT, there was always a diagram of the fuel system. And there was a brown line that fed back from the basic flight control unit, but the basic fuel control unit. And the brown line fed back to the low pressure side into the tank. Mm. And as you went higher, there was more and more fuel not being needed and bled off surplus to requirement. So when the need came for a Javelin afterburner, well, why don't we use the surplus fuel? Because the Javelin's got all the power it needs at sea level, which is completely true. And but it's 12,000 feet, good height to put the burner in. And then there was stacks of spare fuel coming back, and that was now diverted to the afterburner. And then that was a pretty good idea, pretty good solution. But it was a great joke that because entropy being what it is, if you put the burner in on the runway, you lost 3% power.
Well, I never.
Yeah, and that was a great big joke.
I love it.
Yeah, but then you see that the Javelin had an IAS limit that was quite low. It was a bit under 600 knots, and the air brakes were limited to half travel even before you got there, because you had all the power you needed and surplus.
But they had very powerful air brakes, from what I understand.
They were the size of a door.
Wow.
And there were 4 of them. And I remember at Lucas we were demonstrated coming in at 45,000 feet, and 3 miles from the end of the runway, air brakes go, and braking into the circuit at 1,000 feet.
You got rid of 40,000 feet
down like
in
that.
3 miles.
Now, you remember the Tornado, if you did a 0.9 descent with the wings in the 65, it was the same sort of descent.
Wow.
You had to think really hard about pulling out, didn't you?
Oh, indeed, yeah. Lots of room. I understand the tail. It had a T-tail, the Javelin, but it sometimes got blanked at high angle of attack. But
well, we experienced this one time when we did a practice diversion into, just trying to think of the name of, it was Penang Airport anyway. And there was a Thai Airways Caravelle discharging all these little lovelies, and we sort of went by like that. And we got to the end, and Nav says, "God, look at the speed." And it was the absolute critical speed for getting into this superstore.
Oh.
And there was a 100-foot cliff at the end of the runway. And I said, "Oh, here we go." And I had enough control, just ease the nose down, then get the 100-foot dive. Just put another 10 knots on, and we were able to accelerate away. but then you just laughed about it. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, indeed. Ha, ha, ha. But you mentioned that if you got into a spin, there was a possibility that if you ejected the navigator, the aircraft might recover.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
Did the navs volunteer for this?
No, they were pretty pissed off.
Oh, excellent. Now, life in the Far East seemed pretty idyllic for you, quite honestly. You visited the Australians at Butterworth, you mixed it up.
That was later.
Was it?
Much later. 1980s.
Okay. You mixed it up?
Oh, sorry, in the early days.
Yeah.
Oh, there was almost war between the Brit Javelin Squadron and the Australian Sabres.
Excellent.
I remember a guy breaking off a radar approach because he was so annoyed that a Sabre was doing a visual. And he intercepted the Sabre on his visual approach. And he came into the circuit taking film of the Sabre.
Excellent. Excellent. You mixed it up with the Navy in the South China Sea.
We did.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
We had in the time I was there, we had 2 different carriers, and we were very welcome to go and work with them. And their radar controllers, their fighter controllers were absolutely excellent in the Gannets. They were just as good as our guys in the fixed GCIs. And we enjoyed working with them. And there was always the chance of an approach onto the carrier.
Oh, wow.
At the end of the flight. And I got so near victorious, you wouldn't believe. Dare I touch and go. And chickened out at the last moment, which is probably a good decision.
Very sensible. Yeah, I love it.
Well, it looks like you had fun there, Nev. I tell you what, I'm not going to lie. He looks he's bright as a pin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Alan won't mind me saying that at 84 years old, if I make it that far, if I have the memory and recollections that he does, they were as sharp as a pin, absolutely unbelievable. And I think we've probably got about another 4 or 5 parts of this to go, actually. And he goes into so much detail. Obviously, he's kept a lot of notes over the years as well, but his recollection of it all was great. And of course, the fact that Nick was there interviewing him was really important for me, because obviously they shared so many experiences jointly between them. But funnily enough, never actually met on all the RAF bases that they operated from. But, you know, these places that are big, and you wouldn't necessarily know that, but they all know the same people, the same names.
Yeah.
and it was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Alan's time was slightly before Nick's as well because of their age difference, but it was absolutely brilliant, and it's a very good read, that Grub Street book as well. So if you get the chance to have a read of that, then please do. But we'll be playing out another, say, 4 or 5 episodes of this in the coming week. But I hope you enjoy them.
Yeah, well done. Thanks for that, Nev, and taking the time, and also a big thanks as well, as always, to Captain Nick for being our interviewer on this particular occasion. So thanks for that, Captain Nick. That was good. Next part next week, so make sure you stay tuned for next week's show, 570, where we'll be playing the next part of that interview. So right, so we're going to start to wrap up the show. Matt has disappeared. He's apparently his power's gone off. So, mind you, to be fair, he is in the back end of nowhere, where he's currently house sitting. So,
even more than where you are?
Oh yes, trust me. Where Matt is currently situated, I'm surprised he's actually managed to get on air, because I know that they struggle with broadband internet there. So, he's dropped off. Hopefully he's lighting the candles now and heating up his tin of sardines, ready for tea. But no, we are going to start to wrap up the show and say to Nev, what are you up to next week? Anything exciting planned in the world of
nothing?
Nev?
No, nothing too major, I don't think. Bits and pieces here and there. Oh, the car's being serviced on Monday. That's the highlight of next week, I think, probably. But no, nothing too, not much travelling or anything like that at the moment. So just trying to get over this sort of odd stomach thing that I've had going on. But I think I'm on the mend there. So
you know what it is, Nev. It's because your body is cut. You've cut out all that gorgeous BA airline food, and now your body's saying, Nev, where's this food?
Well, also, the 5.5 years of customer dinners have come to an end as well. So it's going, well, where's that steak and where are those nice, roast potatoes and what have you, and those kebabs. And but no, we're on the mend now. So I'm pleased about that. But,
the business class bacon rolls, Nev.
That's it.
T5.
That's it. Yep.
Oh, dear. Actually, Nev, just before we move on, how long have you got to keep your status with the old
I've got until, I think it's probably, let me think, I think it's March of next year, probably, something like that, and then that's it. All gone for good.
Oh, so, no.
Yeah.
And you drop down to...
Oh, I think you go... They used to do what they call like a soft landing, so you went down to the tier below, but I think you go right down to,
No!
Sub-zero or something like that.
Oh, no. Scary times. Right, well, well, next week I shall be working as always, but I'm having a quiet weekend this weekend. It's going to be nice. I've got nothing in the diary for after I finish on the radio on Saturday. So I'm going to have one of them days. You know them days, Nev, where you kind of I've written a list downstairs of things that I need to get done in and around the house, and especially in the garage as well. So I'm going to have that. I'm going to do that this weekend. Have a relaxing weekend, bit of DIY, that kind of stuff. Don't forget to stay tuned to tune in again next week, episode 570, Nev. Can you believe it? 570 next week. Fingers crossed we'll have the whole team here. All being well, fingers crossed we'll have the whole team here. And obviously we'll have that next part of the interview as well there with Captain Nick as well. That'll be on next week's show. But that is about where we're going to wrap up the show. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in tonight on YouTube. Thank you to you all. Also, a big thanks to all our audio downloaders as well of the podcast who download the show as an audio podcast each week and listen to us when you're out and about. Thank you for that as well. And if you get a chance, don't forget to leave us a review on the sites you download us from, so iTunes and all that kind of thing, Spotify, you know the drill. Also, don't forget to get in touch with us here. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram. Just search for Plain Talking UK. That email address, if you want to email us in, it's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. The website, all the w's.plaintalkinguk.com, and that WhatsApp number where your messages come through to our WhatsApp number on this phone here that I'm holding in my hand, for those of you watching in YouTube world, is +44 744 6 975 214. Why not subscribe to us as well on the YouTube channel? Don't forget, if you've not already done that, to be notified when we're live and doing a live show as we are now. And if you want to become a Patreon as well of the show, all the details are on our website. If you want to be a Patreon or PayPal donator to the show, as many of you do each month, and help keep us on air, we do appreciate that very much indeed. Thank you so much. That's it for episode 569 of the show. From me, thanks for tuning in. It's been great to bring you all the awesome content that we have tonight on the show. Been loads of viewers as well, which is always good. And Nev, over to you to take us out of the show for this evening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining tonight. Really appreciate all your support and your very good words as well in the chat room. That's been absolutely brilliant. Hope you have a great weekend and remainder of the week and start of next week as well. We'll be back 7 o'clock on Wednesday, UK time next week. In the meantime, bye for now.
Well, we done it, Nev.
We did, yes.
We managed
yes.
it. That was fun.
One of the things that I don't know if you noticed last night, or you good people in the chat room, where you might have seen Donald Trump's Air Force One aircraft landing at Stansted. All pretty standard stuff, done it many times before. But you should have heard the BBC commentary.
Oh, no.
If that's the right word. Oh, my word. If you get the chance, UK viewers, if you can put yourselves through it, to go back on the iPlayer and see if you can find the section where he'd landed and the people on the ground were commentating, in inverted commas, about what was going on. It was absolutely horrific. I was screaming at the television. No wonder it played up my stomach last night, I tell you. But it was, they're just not very good at it. They're just not very good at it at all.
I thought you were going to say something along the lines of, here comes Donald Trump's Air Force One, the glorious A380 just approaching.
Well, they might as well have done, frankly. When they were, the aircrafts just come to a stop and they're moving the stairs into position. And the detail they went into about moving the stairs into position, there's no detail to go into, is there? You put the stairs up the front door, you put those two side things in, they open the door, and off you go. That's it. But no, they were dragging the whole thing out. It was pathetic. Absolutely awful. So whether you're an aviation enthusiast or not, nothing to do with the politics, but just the whole delivery of it. Oh, it was awful. Absolutely awful. But there you go.
I admit, I missed all that.
Yeah.
I was too busy watching Air Crash Investigation.
Well, more interesting, probably. Yeah.
Do you know there's a whole YouTube channel now dedicated just to Air Crash Investigation, just continuously, every day, every day. It's awesome. Absolutely love it.
Well,
if you like watching that,
Yeah.
But,
so,
yeah.
Anyway, that was that.
That was that.
So, yeah.
Nothing else. Anything?
They had to. They only showed the. They only had the Red Arrows doing their fly past over Windsor today. The weather wasn't good enough for the F-35s.
Yeah.
They were going to run the. Yeah, it was odd actually. I don't know why, but they were going to run the British and American F-35s. But you would have thought if they could have run the Hawks, the Red Arrows, they could have run the F-35s as well.
That is bizarre.
Anyway,
that's like saying we can't operate this Learjet, but we can operate this Cessna 150 in the weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not a Met expert or an F-35 expert.
No, we're definitely not experts with military. Anyway. No. Yeah, that wall behind me there, that here, is ideal for a piece of aircraft. Just
I think that would, maybe a window-based or APU mounted vertically, perhaps.
There's definitely scope to have.
If you increase the walls, substantial the battling that you would need for that.
I had to because this new house we brought, the walls. It's one of those houses that they kind of knock up in 10 minutes, but the internal walls are all kind of plasterboard. So I had to, obviously, when I put the RB211 blade up here on the shelf, it's a solid lump of titanium, so it's fairly weighty. I'll grab the camera for the benefit of those watching in the world of YouTube. You'll be able to see. Oh, not that camera. Hold on, which camera? Oh, there's this one. There we go. There's the blade, the RB211 Stage 1 fan blade, for those of you...
Oh, we can't see that.
Oh, you can't see it. Hold on, let me change cameras. Bear with me. There we go. For those of you watching, there's the blade on quite a substantial wooden shelf, and I had to put reinforced screws to hold that in the wall, because it's quite a thing. And there's the 777 window, which is obviously is there with the exit sign, and then the TriStar window is just, you can't really see it, the TriStar window's on the wall just across there where the models and stuff are.
Oh, yes.
But there is scope on there. Look at that wall there. There's scope there for another window to at least go over there.
Yeah, a bit of reinforcement perhaps again, but you might be right.
So, yeah.
I mean, Gemma would never notice, really, would she?
Oh, no. No, she'd never notice.
No.
Not at all. But, I suppose we better wrap things up, say goodbye to these lovely people.
She hasn't noticed that you've got one extra camera body that hasn't been accounted for.
Well, actually, I did actually sell one of those, Nev. One of my older
sold
ones.
My camera?
The older one I actually sold to Sturman, who's sometimes in the chat room. Okay. He's got that one, bless him. But, yeah. Right.
Good.
Right, Nev, do you want to say bonjour to everyone? And let me just turn...
Bonsoir, you mean?
Yeah, that as well. Let me just put you on the camera there. There we go. And I shall leave you to say bye-bye to everyone.
Yes, thanks everybody for watching and listening tonight. Great enjoyment, as always. A lot of fun in the chat room. And hope you have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. We'll be back on Wednesday of next week. And bye for now.